New fantasy football contest for week 6 with $1 million going out to the first place winner. I want to help you make some money playing fantasy football. Here are your best buy and overpriced running backs. Hello, everybody. I am Bill Enright from ffchamps.com. Let's get right to the running backs that I like this week. Use them in your lineups for that Millionaire Maker contest over at DraftKings. Started off with Giovanni Bernard. He's $7,700. Now, that price may seem a little steep, but taking into fact that no A.J. Green, I think Andy Dalton's going to hand the ball off a lot this game and also use Gio in the passing attack, just like the Bears did last week against the Panthers when Matt Forte ripped them apart. Forte had 12 catches, 105 yards, and a touchdown. He also had 61 yards on the ground. That was 36 fantasy points for Forte against this Panthers defense last weekend. Gio will score a minimum of 24 points this week. Lock it in. All right, next, LaShawn McCoy against the New York Giants. I know McCoy has been killing everybody in their traditional redraft leagues. You took him with the first pick. So let's not cry over spilt milk here. McCoy is only $6,000. You will never see him this cheap again. Throughout his entire career, he has been a giant killer. He averages 20 fantasy points when he's taking on Big Blue. Look for Shady to turn his season around Sunday Night Football against the Giants. I also like Brandon Oliver of the San Diego Chargers. This guy was the number 1 running back in Week 5. Nobody used him. He was one of the cheapest running backs as well. He's only $5,500 this weekend. He's playing against the Oakland Raiders, so the matchup is juicy. Ryan Matthews, out. Danny Woodhead, out for the year. Donald Brown, ruled out with a concussion. Oliver is the only running back threat in the San Diego backfield. Look for him to get a lot of carries this week. He's also a weapon in the passing game. How about the ageless wonder, Fred Jackson of the Buffalo Bills? Will only cost you $5,000. Fred Jackson has scored 19, 14, and 25 fantasy points the last 3 weeks, and the Patriots are giving up an average of 22 fantasy points to opposing running backs in the PPR format. My absolute steal, Chris Ivory of the New York Jets. Now you're thinking, the Jets, they suck. They can't move the ball. I hear you. But they're going to have to try to keep Peyton Manning off the field for as long as they can. They'll do that by trying to establish the run. Chris Ivory's averaging 14 fantasy points when he's playing at home. When he's on the road, it's a different story. But he's at MetLife Stadium this week, and for whatever reason, he seems to do really well when he's playing at home. So Chris Ivory's the absolute steal. But I think an even better play is Joique Bell of the Detroit Lions. $3,700. Now, the reason why I don't have him as the absolute steal is Reggie Bush still may play in Week 6. If Bush is out, though, Joique Bell is going to get all the carries, and he has a really tasty matchup against the Minnesota Vikings this weekend. No Calvin Johnson for the Lions. Look for Matthew Stafford to be handing the ball off to Joique Bell early, often, and especially near the goal line. How about the overpriced running backs, guys that I'm staying away from? I'll start with the number 1 running back in the league right now. That's DeMarco Murray. I know the Dallas Cowboys have the best line, but I'm not paying $7,600 for DeMarco Murray when he's going up against the Seattle Seahawks defense. They have not let up a 70-yard rusher at all this year. DeMarco Murray, 100-yard rushing streak comes to an end in Week 6. Eddie Lacy, Alfred Morris, Monte Ball, all of those guys finished with less than 70 yards when they were playing against the Seattle defense. Stay away from DeMarco Murray. The price is too high. I also don't like Justin Forsett of the Baltimore Ravens. $6,100 for a guy that's really a 3-man rotation for the Ravens. I'm staying away from Forsett. Also don't like Ben Tate. $5,500 against the Steelers. Remember back in Week 1 when the Cleveland Browns and the Pittsburgh Steelers matched up for the first time this year? It's hard to believe they're playing again just a couple weeks later. But anyway, Ben Tate was laid up on the sidelines for the next month because the Pittsburgh Steelers knew that he was injury prone. They hit him hard, they hit him often, and before you know it, Ben Tate was out for the rest of the game and missed the next 3 weeks of action. Also staying away from Bobby Rainey of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. $4,700. This must be a mistake, especially when you can get a guy like Joique Bell for $1,000 less than Rainey. I don't care if he scored a touchdown against the Saints. He's not getting into the end zone against the Baltimore Ravens this weekend. Now, those were your overpriced and best buy running backs. Check out all the action we have at ffchamps.com/million to get a free entry into the Millionaire Maker contest. You have any lineup questions, hit me up on Twitter at Bill Enright. Best of luck to you in week 6.